Welcome, everyone, to Week 3 of the Paladins Premier League. Tigris here with Ild Shift, who you've seen in some of the broadcasts so far this week, and we get a lot of them in the PPL. How you doing?
It's the way you got to have it.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit, we had the tune-up earlier. Now we're here for the real deal. I'm excited about it. This is going to be a good day of PPL action. Ready for it.
We have our doubleheader coming up, facing off against Mousesports and Navi, with VP leading the way. But is there one match in particular that you're looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to the Mouse VP game, just because these teams have really grown a lot over the last couple of weeks from the spring into the summer, and now that we're in the middle of the summer split, I think this is a proving time for both squads.
Well, remember, everyone is working towards a common goal. First off, taking a look at how things are going to be going throughout the year. We are in the midst of our summer split, which leads to our summer LAN, and of course, rounding out everything with our Paladins World Championship. We've got our placements and all, so an extra lengthy, beefy event for you this time around. And you can actually be there at DreamHack for HRX November 16th through 18th. Just go to highresexpo.com to purchase your tickets so you don't miss any of our Paladins or Smite action. Now, the teams have actually played a couple weeks now, as we are in week 3, meaning they are partway through making their standings. Some have walked away with only victories and some only defeats. As you can see, similarities between the two regions as far as reflecting the last split, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, this almost looks like a copy pasta so far, with the exception of that Mouse VP, which, again, they were back and forth in the spring. It looks like they might just be able to do the same thing here. The big thing is you take a look at Europe is what's going to happen with this Navi Fnatic matchup that has been storied now for the last 6 months. Who will eventually take that crown? Because they've split literally everything dating back to the fall.
And this week, we do actually get to see that with the schedule underway. Today, we have our doubleheader for Virtus.Pro, as we said. Splice doubleheader tomorrow, followed by Navi and then Envy. So that Fnatic-Navi matchup you talked about, it always goes to Game 5, and it always feels like that kind of coin flip, as some of the players have put it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, especially after the Masters LAN, one wins the spring final, the other wins the Masters Championship. So it's really couldn't get any closer at the top. But again, this Mouse VP game, a lot of people will give these two teams sitting there at the bottom of the standings some flack. When are they ever going to get good? The problem is everybody else in Europe is really, really good. So hearing them, kind of get that kind of reaction has got to be a little disheartening. These teams have progressed a lot, and I think that this set might have the chance of really being a good proving grounds for both teams.
And Mousesports is in the place where, yes, they have now gotten a victory within the PPL, but it is against Virtus.Pro,
right,
which is their consistent opponent that they've been able to topple, and I'm sure they would love to be able to break that fold and take it to the next step by toppling another team.
Yeah, that's actually really huge when it comes to consistently beating teams. We talk at the top with Navi and Fnatic trading back and forth. Well, those are the two best teams in Paladins, period. So as you're taking a look at Mouse and Virtus.Pro, someone needs to break this mold of being the 4 and the 5. Someone has to give NIP that run of being the potential third best team. We've only had conversations so far since the PPL's existence of the 5th versus the 4th, the 1st versus the 2nd. The 3rd just kind of sits there for the most part. So I'm really excited to see if this will finally be the day that Mouse will establish themselves as potentially being the solid number 4 in Europe.
And as per usual, NTBs has been the constant between the last split and now, and being a leader on the team that we all know from working with him during the last HRX and such. But he's had a hunger for him for quite a while and has been watching the improvement of the rest of the team.
That's huge. I mean, when it comes to somebody who has very high spirits and very high energy, it's great to back it up with someone who is extremely positive about the environment that he's in. Not just because he's obviously a pro player in Paladins, but if you ever have time to sit and talk to NTBs, he's a super energetic, super fun guy to be around, and it has nothing but love for anything that happens. And it's tough to do when you're facing against all this adversity for a lot of your quote-unquote professional career so far, even dating further back, which is why I say quote-unquote. He's always been there, but not quite all the way there yet. So to see him kind of take that IGL, that in-game leader spot, and really be that positive influence for Mouse, I think this is, again, the guy that you want to be your catalyst for success.
Because I do imagine, even for someone as positive as NTBs, it does have to get pretty frustrating that
sure,
week in, week out. You're putting in the same work as the other teams, but it's not coming to that same result. And especially the way that we work now, where not every team gets to come to the LAN.
Right.
If you're not in those top 2, then you miss out on that opportunity. Something that Virtus.Pro has also missed out on if you're looking at the last split.
Yeah, it's really interesting to take a look at Virtus.Pro in specific, simply because Elvin Path, again, is known for his very boisterous personality. He's not necessarily as positively influenced at times, but he is just as equally passionate. And you know that he's not going to be happy until they start to see the results that he wants with this Virtus.Pro roster flip up, which was a very good fall for them back last year to a very rough spring to now what is, again, another growing summer. This is a big moment for VP, and I think for Elvin in general, they need to find this win in his mind.
And even Baidi has mentioned how it actually takes a decent amount of time for a team to find a stride if you've made a lot of changes and you're in that development. It's not just a 2-week turnaround kind of thing, as long as you're seeing some kind of track, right? But Elvin Path, he's been very consistent in his attempt to also be adaptable for whatever comps they might bring to the table.
Yeah, known mostly for his Makoa gameplay in the early stages of Paladins. Now he's taken on this role of being a damage player. And for a lot of people, it's still kind of a surprise to see him take up these damage characters and have that star-studded performance. So I'm really excited to see what Elvin brings to the table today, and if the rest of his team can really step up to match his level of performance.
Well, we don't often get to hear from Elvin Path directly, but recently we did. So let's take a listen.
Thanks, guys. Sitting here with Elvin Path, the captain, the fearless leader of Virtus.Pro, the man behind all the roster changes that we've seen from this roster over the course of this split. First of all, how you doing, bud? It's been a while. I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Yeah, this is the first time talking in English. This is my first time talking in English for a long time. It feels good.
Gotta come make a couple lands, bud. Come see us again. We miss you.
Yeah.
Talk us. Right? How are you feeling, man? Because you're a guy that comes from dominance, comes from excellence, comes from winning. What is it like to have to rebuild a team from the ground up like you've done with Virtus.Pro 2 times now? Not just in Season 1, but again in Season 2.
Well, the second part wasn't actually a rebuilding. I mean, the real rebuilding was only the first part. Now, just changing a player is not really a rebuilding.
Well, it's everyone except you, bud. A lot of new faces.
We had a team, then it got rebuilt. Like once. It didn't get rebuilt 2 times. This is what I mean. And what do you mean? How does it feel? It feels rough. How else can it feel?
How's it been working in with these guys, and how did you choose this particular group of players as these are the guys that I want to swap out with? These are the guys that I want to start this Virtus.Pro legacy with.
Because these guys were known for being good players. I honestly didn't know any of them at all whatsoever. And when I was in the position where changes had to be done, I just didn't know anyone else, or maybe I did know someone else. It doesn't matter at this point, but that seemed like a logical solution because monoracial, not monoracial, but monolanguage teams.
Sure.
You know what I mean? In all games, they tend to perform well, so I thought it would be nice to give it a try.
Awesome. Talk us through the recent roster change that you guys made, adding Mary Jane. Was he someone that you just saw in ranked, or you were just really impressed with? What was behind the decision to pick him up?
It is someone that we just saw in ranked, and I'm pretty sure everyone saw Mary Jane in ranked at one point. Literally every single player who plays ranked, and he's been there around for a while, and we needed to make a change. And the reason it had to be him because he speaks Russian.
Awesome.
It's easy as that.
Cool. And one other question, back in Season 1, you guys were known for a particular strategy, a lot of supports, a lot of healing, just a very hard-to-kill compositions. You tried some goofy stuff with 4 frontliners earlier on in the spring split, but now it seems that you've maybe settled on something a little bit more standard. Would you guys say that you're finding your vibe, or are we still going to expect Virtus.Pro to continue to be known for very special strategies?
To be fair, the goofy stuff with 4 tanks, it could have worked. It's just that there was a very bad choice of legendaries, and this is about it. That actually made some sense. You just had to play it right.
Cool.
And about what you asked me just now, I guess only time will tell, because the game is so rapidly evolving, and you can always find an opportunity to pick something interesting. Because it's this one set that matters on Saturdays. Right. And if it has to be 4 tanks or 5 tanks, if you see an opportunity for it, and if you think it can work, then why not? I mean, I don't think we will see 4 tanks or 5 tanks, but...
Awesome. I want to get your new thoughts actually on the new champion, not available for play right now, but coming up soon. Do you have any initial thoughts on Furia or how she might impact or shake things up in the meta?
Honestly, I have a tendency of not looking at new heroes when they come out, simply because they are not available for the next 2 weeks or so in the PPL. So it kind of makes no sense for me. This is why I don't really look at those champions. But what can I say is her avatar in the champion select is actually awkward. It doesn't fit there. It looks very different from all other avatars.
Yeah, the art style,
all
I
I
actually
can
kind
say.
of agree with you. I think the art style is a little bit different. She sticks out.
Yeah.
She's a very unique character, very cool, very fun. Elvin, good luck in your games today. Thanks so much for joining us for this quick interview.
Thank you too.
You gotta love the honest perspective that he offers, and yeah,
He always brings it to the table. There's
listen
no
and you're like,
stone
here,
unturned
yeah.
in Velvet Path.
I love it. And then also think of the fact that, yeah, I guess this would be if you're on a team where you're able to actually speak in your native tongue for so long, and
Yeah.
then in this environment having to switch. So didn't even think about that aspect. But he had a lot of good insight as far as where he's going with the direction of his team.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that as much as you either kind of love or hate Elvin Path at times, he is very straight to the point. He knows exactly what needs to happen. I honestly think, though, he might not give his opinion all the time when it comes to the state of the game or the state of certain comps. He's probably one of the more fluid minds, I think, in Paladins. That one set where they played NIP in the spring that Nick had brought up with the 4 tanks, they ended up playing up against 5 DPS. Sometimes you have to go on that limb and say, you can only follow for so long. At some point, you have to be a pathfinder, and you have to go blaze a trail. And that 4 frontline, like you mentioned, was close to working. So doing things like that, trying to find a way to change, the viability charts or to try to introduce something new to the scene is really, really healthy. Even though it doesn't work, you could still reflect and possibly take a look at how you can make that work in the future.
And I know that Pretty Hair and some of the other casters have talked about the fact that predictability can be heavily punished, and we've seen evidence of that within the recent weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that Elvin Path is willing to challenge them for that aspect, for better or worse in certain situations, at least brings you in the direction of discovery.
Yeah, and that's big, I think, when it comes down to it, because so often the word meta is thrown around so often in Paladins, and it's one that I personally, every time I hear it, I go, can you really even say there is one? Just simply because of how diverse that the playing field is when it comes to what champions are viable, what map you're on really is kind of dependent on that as well. Virtus.Pro is going to have the first pick going into Serpent Beach, and I think this is really a game where VP needs to come out swinging, set the tone, and don't play Mousesports game. Force them to play yours.
That's a big part of it, too. We've seen where Fnatic, with the way that, as you're saying, people describing what the meta is and things have worked to kind of coincide with what they want.
Right.
But at the same time, they're making it their own within that aspect. And here, Virtus.Pro, we've seen a lot of evidence of that as well. And Mousesports, NTBs, he's been very comfortable on the Inara, who's just been prioritized in general. And having somebody that can just go on one of those standard frontliners has been strong for them. But Terminus locked in as well as Genos.
Yeah, the Genos Terminus early, I think, really kind of sets up that Mousesports wants to try to play off the point more than anything else, while VP, they take Cassie, Leon, and Nara. Nara obviously is probably the best bet at being able to duel with Terminus because she can break that axe swing by throwing up an impasse wall. It just comes down to, will Cassie and Leon get the same kind of pressure that they really need to have on the high ground to make sure that Mouse isn't staying comfortable?
And Shaolin and Drogos. We talked a bit about Drogos during the PGS
Yeah.
earlier, actually. And PPL always seems to be kind of influencing some other leagues as well because it's the premier league that a lot of people look to. And from some of the players that we expect to actually see go on to this pick, they've obviously been outstanding, but I love seeing other teams bring it as well.
Very much so, and I think Drogos is starting to become one of the more fluid parts of a lot of compositions just because of his ability to bring that burst damage. But again, we mentioned that projectile speed buff increase, making it happen a little bit quicker. It lets that Fusillade build really be very, very devastating. The one thing I'm most excited for, though, is this Eevee pick that has really come into fruition the last couple of weeks. Obviously, one of those picks that it's either It's kind of like I'm gonna take Evan's shoes real quick and make a basketball reference. I know. Hold on to your horses. It's kind of like those teams that go out there and try to shoot nothing but 3-pointers. You live and die by the 3. I think you live and die by the Eevee in this situation.
Well, everyone's trying to find out who their Eevee player is if they don't already have an Eevee player. So let's see how Virtus.Pro brings this pick to the table.
Game number 1 of week number 3 of the PPL here. Pretty Hair and Gore here to bring you the call. So far, so good in the draft phase for me. I definitely have to mirror a little bit what Alan said there. Eevee is kind of a live or die character. Either kind of pop off or I feel might not provide much.
I'll say I'm hopeful for it just because a lot of these guys used to play in the CIS PGS, which loves their Eevee. They've had it in the past. Again, it's kind of one that they would normally flex onto, so I'm interested to see who's playing it for this game because I feel like they have 3 players that could probably comfortably run it. The question is which one of them actually feels like they can bring it to that next level.
If this were Spring Split, I wouldn't really know, but I feel like this is probably going to be unlimited power on the Eevee. He played so much Cassie in the Spring Split, but I think Madara started to maybe overtake him a little bit as that role of playing Cassie because he's looked phenomenal on it. A lot of people have looked phenomenal. PPL Cassies are the best in the world for a reason. Once we get in a game, we will have the talent screen available so we know what everyone's running. It's going to be awesome. Here it is. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's been a while, but now we can rock and roll. Elven Path here, he's on Mother's Grace and Nara Madara. We'll be playing Death and Taxes Leon, Wormhole Eevee for unlimited power, Spirits Chosen for Mad Max Maldamba, Little Impulse, Mary Jane Cassie. We got Desert Shadow for Koa Sha Lin. NTB's running the Crush. Zephyr Cloud on the Genos. We'll have Luminary Doodle, Fusillade Drogos, Cybe 8 rocking the Yomi.
I'm excited to see the impact. I feel like Leon and Cassie so far for VP have been phenomenal. Madara is the one that's kind of been standing out to me. Of course, unlimited power.
Okay,
you
Cybe.
Never die by it.
Okay.
And in this case, he dies.
Let's go, baby. Hits all 3 swings, hits the big Yomi in the midair, soaring, and now it's Cybe 8's turn. He's going to head straight to this back line here, but be responsible, be wise, recognize I've got advantage here. I've already won a fight. Let's do something with this advantage. Let's play it smart. Don't want to give them any picks back if we can help it. No one on the objective, though, for Mousesports. They are really prioritizing maintaining control of this high ground of the map rather than heading straight to the point.
And honestly, it's giving them this control where, I mean, the first thing they do is turn the fight into a 4v5. Now they're setting it up to the point where we are going to push you out. We are going to take Elven Path out of his comfort zone that is the control point and put him on the back end of the map, on the path anywhere else. And he's just not able to do anything.
And it has paid off for Mousesports. They have prioritized heavily map control, high ground control. Salvo's good for a lot of damage on Mary Jane. Mousesports in control of this objective by a mile. This is a 100-0 capture for Mousesports, and it all began with Cybe 8.
Cassie, normally probably the easiest to charge ult, has been passed now by Heat Haze, about to be passed by the Dragon Punch. 64% over there on that charge, and it just shows, I want to say, the control right now that Mouse has more than anything else. They have been fighting. They're the ones finding the damage. They're the ones holding the point. And there's nothing VP can really do about it.
That's a hell of a point that you make. Some of these ultimates you really expect to be charged a little bit slower. She's getting some good shots in now, but when you've got NTBs on Terminus on the heels of Cassie and Eevee in terms of all charge,
it starts to feel a little scary.
You've got a problem on your hands. That is one of the slowest charging ultimates in the game, in combination with the fact that Terminus's windows to actually do damage and charge his ult are so little. Doodle with a nice 2-tap there onto unlimited power. And then that's why I talk about it's so important for Eevee to be able to 2-3-shot people, because in matchups like that can be really rough for her.
And this is one of those matchups, like just between these two teams, that I think was really important for both of them. A good showing for Mouse here really kind of cements them, I want to say, ahead of VP, but a good showing for VP really shows, okay, look, the changes we've made, the things that have happened with our team are bringing us into it. A couple of kills here and there, just something to get them like at least rolling a little bit, get them back into the equation, might make the difference.
And they are rolling right now. Nice shot from Unlimited Power over the top of Cybe 8. He blinks back to safety. Easy hold for Virtus.Pro. They just pop a scout for it as well. So Mousesports just running out of steam a little bit, but they've made great progress in a short amount of time.
Don't know when exactly, you know, Heat Haze, I want to say, was popped. I don't think did a lot for them, but the fact that it's already at 63%, that just shows Koa, again, having that presence. He's picked up a few kills throughout all of this, a 3-streak now, but even with kind of the reset they just had, he's had such a big presence in terms of damage and in terms of control and being able to set this up.
Oh, no.
Him and Andrew Doodle are just on fire, being able to pincer people between either an arrow and a missile.
That just looked... like a mistake, like a misstep, Gore. Eevee, she basically falls down in front of that Dragon Punch that I can only assume was meant for Elven Path. He's like, okay, I'll take it. And then after that, he just turns the corner and one-taps Elven Path for a double kill, and it's basically free from there on out.
I could only imagine that the idea is, as Eevee, I'm going to drop down an ice block. I'll eat this ult for you. I won't die, you won't die, we'll be good.
Yeah.
But you also put yourself, like, you know, standing right next to it, it's like, hey,
I don't
one
know.
rocket right here, it's going to kill both of us anyway.
I feel like that's a misplay. Even if you ice block it, it doesn't consume the Dragon Punch. He would
it just holds it off.
He would just like awkwardly scuttle around the ice block, kill Elven Path anyway. Might have been a better, I don't know, man, just unfortunate there. Koa, though, on his way to his second Heat Haze, top damage. Guess it makes sense when you look at it that way. 80% charge, no combo, but a couple of shots from planted. Edge him even closer.
Just solid, consistent damage, unlimited power. Actually going to be able to make it to the backline this time, but not for long. That shot just missing. Another one connecting, but he's out of it. He's just going to sit back there. Koa has to decide where his attention goes. Do you want to focus on this Eevee? She's going to be back there no matter what.
Seems like it could be a good time to gas pedal, right? They've got the Eevee forced out. High ground is completely in their control. That doesn't accomplish much. The Dread Serpent barely fears NTBs, but unlimited power, they stopped looking at him for 1 second, and he's able to pick up one. Gets credit for NTBs as well. The wall keeps Elven Path safe, and just like that, in traditional Elven Path fashion, it's a Virtus.Pro capture 100-0.
Again, first point, you keep him out of there. You've locked him down. They're in a 4v5. He can't walk forward. This time you give him comeback mechanic, a Nara, and a control point that's just completely open. That is Elven Path's dream. He actually loves thinking of that.
I almost remarked on it in the first round because it was weird to see Elven Path on the high ground fighting Mousesports. I'm like, oh, I frankly would have assumed him to just go straight to the objective. And that's why it felt like Mousesports, knowing that would have explained why they were committing so hard to the high. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some 4D chess going on right now, Virtus.Pro countering their own plays. Who knows?
I will say that entire round, I want to say the space unlimited power gain for him. In the sense that when Koa missed that one shot, he had the one opportunity that would absolutely have killed that Eevee. That shot misses and unlimited power stays alive back there. That just creates space because you're threatened. You're like, where is he going to go?
Hold up.
That
was...
He just jumped.
He must have jumped. You know what he did? He must have jumped over the water to get more distance, then blinked up, soared, and then when he wormholed back, he went right over the water. Welcome to the top fails section of Esports Weekly, folks. Here's unlimited power blinking off the edge of Jaguar Falls.
I want to see what Anthony can do with camera angles on that, because, like, you know he's going to be able to make that perfect.
Right, yeah, that's definitely going to end up plastered all over some type of highlight reel. Koa finds two. Shaolin pretty aggressive here. Shots are not going to be good. He's going to time it up, look for the next one. But Yuppie and Madara find the shot. Madara finds two. Starting to wake up. He's been fairly quiet so far this game.
Yeah, it's one of those things last week. I want to say week 1, it was kind of like, okay, Madara's there. Week 2 was, all right, Madara is here. Now he's just kind of hanging around again. I want to see that impact that he had when he's going on these big streaks. He's getting these huge kills and making the difference. This Leon has been big for him so far this split. But
God, I love that weapon.
Again, quiet this game.
I could see that ending up as like a skin in Realm Royale. For
the new Leon rifle?
That Leon rifle is so sick. That's got to be one of my favorite weapons in the game. Anywho, payload working its way in here. Virtus.Pro looking for the conversion, but Koa shuts one down. Koa looking for his third so far in this fight. One more arrow would make it so, and he finds it. 1250. Threads the needle, finds 3. Sai, Bait, and Doodle clean up the full 5-0 sweep. Mousesports hold the defense, of course, after that.
I love the aggressive withdrawals he's having, where it's just like, okay, I'm at like 200 health. I'm going to flick around and backflip towards you.
Wank.
So, unfortunate. Come back.
I love how she just like holds that pose. Like the character's like, I ain't got nothing to stand on here. I got nothing.
Nowhere to go.
Slowly sinks into the water. Feels bad.
I don't think I've ever seen an Eevee player do that. I think that is a rarity for me. I understand why it happened.
I feel his pain.
I just think it's great that it happened in this game the way it did.
So live or die by the Eevee, 4-7 for the time being. Meanwhile, Doodle 10-3. Traditionally, you would say, they've got hit scan threats. They've got Cassie as well, which tends to do okay against Drogos, I think, for the most part. But Doodle, he's been playing pretty safe and just overall well, not really exposing himself to many threats.
And the only threat I want to say that's actually maybe put any pressure onto him has been Eevee coming around the side. There's been a few times he's been taken out of the sky, but unlimited power coming around to the back I think is like the biggest danger to where they are. But then you just get spited. He was just trying to get up there, but you ate it just trying to get the peak.
What? Did he see? Could he see her? Was that just the hottest read of 2018?
That was Eevee 100% peeking.
Come
like,
on,
where'd he
Koa.
go? Can I find that shot?
Can he find the shots? No, Enlightenment comes out as well just to keep Madara alive. Keep himself unstaggered for the time being. No comeback mechanic for Mousesports. They have to do it the old-fashioned way. They're looking to win game one. Fire spit's good. Unlimited power bites the dust again. Doodle having his way with Serpent Beach.
Good shots so far from Andrew Doodle, just being able to keep Elven Path pushed back. 97% is not something to scoff at, so Mouse have to fight around this point. They have to kind of keep control of it. Bees being able to find the stun there and just Fuse-a-Lot rockets going in. That is a dead Elven Path.
Ooh, but it's a dead Doodle as well. As stunned out onto the objective. Mid-thrust 2 for 2 so far. Overtime started in favor of Virtus.Pro. Mousesports, this is their overtime now. Starting to expire. Cybate out of cooldowns, out of time. Madara slides in, gets the kill, but it's a Mousesports victory as unlimited power is simply too late to the point.
I'd say there were good moments and bad moments for the Eevee throughout that entire game. Sometimes where you could shine bright, sometimes you blink over the water. It just happens.
I mean, when you live or die by certain picks, he had a lot on his shoulders, though. He was very deep in the back line, very much by himself, but that's kind of how Eevee operates, right? It's about getting distraction value, but at the same time not getting picked off. But that does it for game number one. Mousesports turned it around, but Virtus.Pro definitely had their moments. Let's get it back to the desk to break it down.
Well, we went into the match talking about how Eevee was going to be a big determining factor. What was your assessment? You know,
it wasn't a bad Eevee. It's just Mouse was able to punish so much more heavily than I think the damage was for VP flat out. And again, it comes for me, I think, as you sit and reflect almost immediately, it comes down to the Drogos in a one front line versus one front line, that Drogos has the ability to know who he's going to instantly delete when a Dragon Punch comes out, or when there is a fight going on point, who to focus on. Give the Terminus that little bit of extra help by throwing a couple of those rockets into Inara's face, and that's absolutely huge. On top of that, though, I would say the biggest reason why Mousesports has done well is Cybate's addition, but also the ability of Koa to get himself back online. Regardless of that last heat haze, he was hitting, I would say, a vast majority of shots, and that extra pressure, again, kept Eevee out of the match for a lot of it.
He's been playing a lot of Shaolin since stepping away from his previous role on the team, and that's kind of a pick that we've seen him be quite comfortable on, but it's evolved from a level of just comfortable to some really prime moments.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely conversation as far as EU goes, at the least, as being one of the better Shaolin players. I would even say beyond that, just bow character players. Just Cassie's also really, really good. But when you have moments where Koa can come in with low HP and still find big shots, that's what you want, because then again, Cybate can know when he can go in. He's getting this information that he's chunking away a lot of these opponents, whether they are frontline or backline or otherwise. He's able to give that call for Cybate to go in, and then Cybate, of course, if you pull a little bit of lucky, low ground to high ground spites on an Eevee, why not? That's just a little bit more insult to injury.
Those are the moments where Mousesports is able to just affect the footing of Virtus.Pro.
Right.
If they feel like they're going to come back into it, something like that can just be demoralizing and also offset you, because if you went in with a plan as Eevee to try to relocate yourself and suddenly that's just chomped to the wayside with this ultimate, that never feels good. But Splitstone Quarry is where we're going next.
And this is a map that I think, when you take a look at the strengths of Virtus.Pro, especially with the addition of Mary Jane, I think that this is a very good spot for VP to be in when it comes to their ability to play their style of game. When it comes down to it, yes, there's a lot of verticality to this map, but I think the flank pressure is going to be huge, and really you're just looking at, can you outflank Cybate's pressure? And I think VP is going to be able to do that more often than not, I would say. This is definitely a map that plays more towards their team comp and their play style strengths.
And with the bans, it looks like we are likely to potentially see some sniper play on this map as well.
True, and that's going to be really huge when it takes to look at, who's going to be the snipers if it does end up coming out. Of course, Splitstone, with the recent scope changes, is probably one of the only maps that really you look at and say it is viable now for snipers to be used here. But even still, we've seen instances where it can be very difficult to put that scope in a set spot because of those routes on the outsides that are just outside your peripheral vision.
And a lot of it comes down to when you actually have the capture, if you can get a good angle depending on who the frontliners are, whoever is attempting to actually access the objective, who can have the most effect from afar without getting caught out by the enemy flanks so often. And right now, no one's locked into it just yet. I don't think anyone wants to give any tell, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being a last lock-in.
Yeah.
Interesting if no one takes it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you want to get your key components of your composition online first. You want to be able to get
Exactly.
that flank pressure if you so choose to. You want to be able, of course, get your healers and your frontliners. The sniper would be kind of the icing on the cake. If things work out in the draft where it says, all right, we can't afford to take a Kinessa or a Strix, let's take it. But it's definitely not one that I think with the recent changes that it's going to be, all right, we're going to prioritize
Right,
like we saw back
exactly.
in the day a couple of months ago.
It's a very different scene ever since that happened, and I think it is very important that they go and prioritize in the way that they are, and it looks like nobody's actually going to bring it out, so just taking a step away. But they have things like the Cassie that can still reach from afar, and going with the Eevee this time on the side of Mousesports.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a big key when it comes down to it. This Eevee pick is starting to work its way up, but again, this is a very high-level competitive pick. You have to be very well-rehearsed on Eevee to make sure that you're getting maximum efficiency out of her. The Shaolin versus Cassie battle is what I'm most excited for, to see those bows kind of go up each other from long range. And then again, the Barrack coming in, a lot of places for him to set up shop.
We've seen Mousesports work with Eevee in the past, and maybe this is just the story of Eevee throughout this set. So let's go to game 2.
Great drafts from both sides. I feel there's definitely pros and cons. I like the backline picks for Mousesports, but I much would have rather had them have a Genos. But Maldambra and Inara is strong in its own right, but is it strong enough to move Elven Path off of an objective for the first time in the history of the PPL?
That's going to be, I think, the difficult point. I'm kind of wondering where Eevee plays into that, because I feel like she has to be more point-focused here.
Yeah.
Buck, on the other hand, I'm excited. I'm happy Mouse actually went for it first, because I feel like that's a huge deterrent. Like, just the flex of, you can go sniper, but I'm always going to be there for you.
Yeah. They got to lock down this Genos, I think, is another
Yeah.
big key. I think Cephacloud on it, his streak was climbing high there. He was 0-1 and 20 after the first couple of rounds. So letting these Genoses get off on these crazy streaks, even if you don't see them, right, they're healing 2 or 3 people, giving them bonus damage, swaying these 1v1 battles that I think are going to be very instrumental in this particular matchup. Unlimited Powers, Royal Subjects, Luminary Bomb King is something that I am personally looking at to absolutely take over this game.
I'm also kind of curious to see, I want to say, like, where he positions himself in this kind of matchup, because I feel like there's a lot of
Behind
spots
Elven
where you can take one step out of place as this Bomb King and just get blown up, and not in the way you really want to. Not gonna find the leap up there. Although I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Fernando is gonna be the one aggressing around the corner.
I think that was really bad, actually. I think if he was there with Elven Path, I think they shred that.
They get a couple
high ground.
kills.
I think they kill everyone up there. And sometimes Poppy Bombs get a little awkward. Sometimes I feel like they don't go as far as they should, but I couldn't tell if that was entirely intentional or not. Doodle finds a couple of good shots onto Madara. VP and all the chaos, they thrive. 84% on the objective before they've even really gotten anything going.
And honestly, it feels like Mouse haven't had any presence or prevalence together. Like, they just haven't stuck around. B's kind of left high and dry all on his lonesome, co-op at the top getting some shots down, but the healing comes too late. The flanks are all getting killed off before they can actually get anything done. Elven Path hasn't had any worries to get off at this point. No one on Virtus.Pro has had any worries.
Open played phenomenally there. He goes up to the high ground, completely just dismantles him. I think Mousesports maybe thought this Bomb King was coming. Like, they see Elven Path and they hear Poppy Bomb. And none of them were really in trouble, Gord. They just ran away. They just, like, hauled ass for this corner right there that you see Mad Mac looking at. And they just kind of hide. None of them die, but that's okay, because then Elven Path rotates down, and he starts putting pressure on this Eevee, kills her, then goes to point. He was everywhere in that fight. He hit every single point of interest, in my opinion, and had an impact.
And that's in that area where you see Mouse, I want to say, go for that, like, fight or flight. Do you run? Do you stay? If you stay there, you recognize, oh, it's just a Fernando. Like, that's still a lot of damage you're going to have to eat, but you can handle that a lot more than Fernando plus Bomb King. Hearing the Poppy Bomb and then immediately giving up that ground, I mean, it's gotten to the point where, again, they feel very just dissected. The team doesn't feel like they're functioning as a whole right now to me.
Stone Spear goes to the back line, but I don't think actually connects on anyone. Madara's eating some shots, but he's being pocket healed constantly by this Genos, so he's able to shrug off that Eevee damage as it comes through somewhat intermittently, unless you're able to chain the shots together. Cybe 8 goes down, unlimited power. Madara combining for more kills for Virtus.Pro, and the payload marches ever forward.
Once again, that time being able to make the jump, Bomb King just repositioning all around.
See what I mean, though? That
Virtus.Pro
looked
are
like the
getting
same
aggressive.
Poppy Bomb to me. and he just made it that time.
Well, I know sometimes, I don't know how this jump relates to, the Serpent Beach jump when you have to get up on the high ground with Bomb King, but you need to be like against the wall when you jump to get that extra jump height, or maybe an extra level of jolt to be able to get yourself up there. But unlimited power, being able to maneuver this part of the map, I think is going to be the bigger challenge for VP.
Nice shots connecting there. Doodle stabilizes Mousesports for now 36 on the clock, and this is Splitstone. This is basically hot ice mines, so if you fail once, your chances of getting this one through are less and less likely by the second as the payload. In combination with this factor, just the layout of the map is now regressing, and Elpath trying to find an angle, trying to work his way back in, but Doodle's not going to let him have it for free.
These are good shots. I like the movement coming down from Andrew Doodle, at least just keeping some pressure, locking him in. So it's like no free fireballs, no free flanking movement from this Fernando to kind of come into this archway that Madara just walks through, up the ramp, and then immediately on top of us. You keep him in check.
That's a quick 2-tap from Unlimited Power. He poppy bombs around the corner. He's got his Luminary mark swinging for 1,035 for every single bomb. Forces NTBs back behind the corner. Look at Elvin Path. He's forcing 2 members of Mousesports further back into spawn. Unlimited Power with Royal Subjects finds the kill outside of line of sight. Another seismic crash, but to where? Gort, who is that at?
I feel like he was trying to stun Cephicloud. I don't see anyone on VP over there. It might have been some quick movement, a charge, something. But that ult just goes into the wall and finds nothing.
See, problem is Cephicloud used to play for VP. NTB still thinks he plays for VP and just tries to stun him out, but it's not good. 2 for 2. This one's going to be close. One more before Unlimited Power goes down. Cybate puts his foot down. Buck Wild shuts down this offense in its tracks. He hits the emote, slices the throat, and puts round 1 to rest at a 1-1 scoreline.
I don't think this game has been broken by Bees' ults not connecting with anything, but it definitely hasn't helped Mouse. It's just in that area
I'm pretty sure he
like
whiffed both. The first one, you just barely caught a glimpse of it, where I think it went anyway. There's like some barrels, and there's like a little, I don't know, storage shed cubby thing in the corner where he threw his first ultimate. And you know how, like, if you're not careful, like, each, like, wooden plank, little barrel, all these things, like, have collision. Like, if you're not careful on Serpent Beach, like, you can throw gourds and stuff through little wooden boards and they'll fall through. So I think that spear actually ended up going into some awkward collision in that corner cubby because it did not stun Madara at all.
That second one, though,
that was
just kind of
bad.
thrown at the
I don't
wall.
know who the hell that was
curious,
meant for, bro.
But again, VP are just starting this off. Fernando, Bomb King on the side. Not as aggressive this time, but they're on the point. They're comfortable.
Long distance bombs coming out here. And again, these are hitting for 1,035. It's an incredibly difficult matchup for Doodle to have to fight into. He is such a constant threat of being 2-tapped. One of these connecting directly puts him at 1,800 HP, and then Unlimited Power doesn't even need to direct impact the next one. He can just splash damage, get the kill. 3 for Virtus.Pro, 84%. And they're back in the driver's seat, scouted out. No more invisibility for Koa. 1 quick bolt around the corner, and 2 bombs from UP sends Virtus.Pro back on the offense.
This team looks just like vastly different from game number 1. VP have found either their stride, their map, their comfort zone with everything that they have going on right now. And coming into this, you have an Immortal, you have a King Bomb. You want to push this up 3-1. Those are 2 huge tools to grant you not only a lot of ground, but a lot of kills and kind of keep Mousesports just staggered.
Chipping away here through the doorway, only hitting for 100s, 200s, but you know, you gain some information by realizing there are still people there. Getting dove in on the Doodle and Saib combined for 1. Saib puts himself into a bit of a situation, so to speak. He's in the back line here, popping cooldowns, trying to stay alive, will eventually fall. Doodle's going to make it in and out of this fight once more, but the damage over time and the shot from Barrack's rifle will end that.
Just a good spot to fight if you're a Barrack. That barricade right there, that's all you need, is a corner in your barricade. You can just bounce back and forth in between. You shoot through, they can't, and so you stay nice and healthy, and they just get upset.
Here we go. That one connects. 1 for 3, boys. Let's go.
Still, only finds 1 kill. Maybe gonna be able to pick up Mary Jane right here. This healing.
That's the corner. You see what I'm saying, though?
So
look back in this corner. See all those like logs in the corner and stuff? That's what I think. I think the spear had to have gone in there because you would imagine that. I mean, line of sight was definitely good for that first spear. I'll give up on this though. I'll stop harping on this.
One day we'll know.
He missed. Long story short.
It didn't do what it was supposed to do. And again, I don't know if it's costing Mouse a lot, as much as it's just like, it's not costing them anything as much as it's just not gaining them.
Absolutely, yeah. Sure, they hold the defense, right? But I'd rather have my seismic crash than not.
Yes. Especially when you're coming in and you need something. In that last engagement on the point, you have Bomb King and Fernando in front of you this time around. They're not behind you. They're not, you know, killing off your flanks. They're not going for Shaolin. Koa's safe. That's when you can use it to get aggressive. Give him that line of sight, that angle for those arrows to do more. Now he's starting to get a couple kills, but it just feels like he hasn't been able to have anywhere near the amount of room he had during game number 1.
Speaking of angles, Koa again gets aggressive. Far past half core. One more shot from Doodle, claims unlimited power is life. 12 seconds on the clock. Mary Jane's here, but he's likely to just die staggered. Elvin Path's working his way back to the objective, wants to start the overtime, but it is looking like a long shot at this stage of the game.
Couple of shots going back and forth. Mary Jane's still alive, and now they're actually going to be able to get that overtime. But again, you're using a lot. Immortal gets popped to try and hold it. And this is at 50%. This is a long push. You're not going to be able to find much except a couple kills. Eevee, Shaolin going down while Damba still not available just yet. So if you can stagger Bees out just a few more seconds, you gain a lot of ground here as VP.
Frankly, a great rejuvenation to this push. Virtus.Pro commit just one ultimate. Elvin Path's Immortal to keep this one alive. Cepha Cloud hits a Dread Serpent that frankly doesn't accomplish much at all. It might be as a result of Elvin Path's crowd control reduction, because he shrugged that off fairly quickly. Overtime still burning here. Virtus.Pro, resources to spend. Mouse, decisions to make. Will they spend to hold his defense or let it through?
As of right now, overtime still holding strong. You have two front lines standing on the payload. A Bomb King to your side, a Genos above you. Bees is in probably the hardest position to fight as an Inara, where you are just surrounded. You're having to jump down. Triple kill for Madara to close it out and push it in.
He was just trying to do his combo, but like the blast shot killed Eevee, and then his next shot killed young Damba. I love what I was seeing, though, and you got to really see the strength of that Inara Maldamba play at the end of that round. The fact that Bees had just 4 people laying into him, and his health bar was just like, I'm not really in the mood to move right now, if that's cool with you guys.
It's like the worst spot to be, because I can't leave here, but also you can't kill me.
Yeah.
I can't do anything.
Yeah. So again, I don't really like that decision, that early Dread Serpent, right as we head into overtime, that early Dread Serpent onto Elvin Path. He's got 70% crowd control reduction. He is just not a good target. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, to kill, if you can guarantee you're going to get this kill, you can, in my opinion, you use that Dread Serpent to cancel his shield, right? Once he's popped it, you can bring it down. That's the only acceptable use, in my opinion.
This time around, Koa does get aggressive in the fight with the rest of the flanks. Unfortunately, he's the first one to get the shot. Bees falls down. Cybate finds 2, but VP are on the point.
They
VP
sure
have
are,
control of it. They have Barrick sitting down there happily, and a Bomb King who's just waiting to set up.
Dome Shield Scout through time and space. Elvin Path's Immortal getting close. 81% and climbing for Virtus.Pro. Here comes the Dome Shield. NTBs is on the point. He's trying to stall as best he can. Mad Mac, he's got one big laser beam to hit. He's going to let it rip. It's not going to find NTBs, but his team will pick up the kill shortly thereafter. Elvin Path forced into Immortal, 96%. A couple kills stand between Virtus.Pro and their first victory.
Mouse doing whatever they can. Andrew being able to get rid of Madara, finding another one onto Elvin Path, and immediately gets back into the fight. Looks for more. But Virtus.Pro, I mean, the 99%, you have to pay attention to this point constantly. You can't let yourself get out, and then you lose both your flanks immediately.
It's just, I'm hearing Moonchopper's voice in my head right now. Simple decisions to get over-aggressive or to stay too passive. I feel like Mousesports just got too aggressive. They are currently being punished for doing so. Overtime started and likely to end in favor of Virtus.Pro as they continue to clean up the remaining members of Mousesports, few as they may be.
And that's probably the most unfortunate loss in that area, just because it's 3-1. If you don't lose your flanks there, they just hold a little bit further back and they stop VP from getting there, you get the point, because comeback mechanics heavily in your favor. Maybe that push doesn't go your way, but you're still on the way back towards at least tying the game up.
I think any victory can be, you can point to a lot of intangibles that frontliners do. That game, the things that Elvin Path was doing felt actually tangible. You could physically see him making space, causing disarray in the backline. He started the overtime push that ended up being converted. And what a new Elvin Path, right? To dive in and commit his ultimate just to get an overtime. I mean, what year is this? Desk, what do you think about that type of play from Elvin?
Elvin has been ruthless in the past, and I think he sticks with that.
Very much so, and I think that, again, you get that inspiration from your in-game leader, and Elvin Path more vocal than just about anybody else in the Paladin scene. But, again, the first place that I want to go, Gabby, is this Eevee pick, which, again, there are moments of brilliance. It just comes down to, in VP's team comp, Barrack turrets are continually shooting at him. Genos Void Grip allows anybody to relook at her again. And then even the Royal Subjects Bomb King is able to just throw out free shots. Even if it only is hitting for 150, 200, the free poke is great. The ability to try to predict where that wormhole is going to be back again, that's the biggest reason why when Eevee was strong, she was kind of taken away, is because Bomb King started to develop kind of that non-Neanderthal kind of IQ to say, I know where this Eevee's going to come back to. Let me just throw a couple bombs in the ground and see what I can pick. Even if it doesn't find a kill, if it chunks 3/4 of a health pool, it keeps the Eevee out of the conversation.
And Andrew Doodle's Eevee has been enough in the past to really push forward for a game, but in this case, VP had a lot of just strong play from their players, including Madara in this case.
Absolutely, and there were so many moments with this Cassie that she was just off to the side, just kind of biding her time, waiting for the opportunity to roll in and find a low HP target, able to find a number of multi-kills. And again, it just comes down to never underestimate the power of the blast shot. Impulse can absolutely shoot people away. It's just a left click and a Q right into someone's face will take them from 3/4 all the way completely down. That triple kill from Madara was absolutely brilliant. Again, the ability for this Cassie to kind of be that mid-line pressure. Not quite backline, not quite front line. If you're getting pushed, you can then all of a sudden be a backliner, or if you're getting aggressive, you can all of a sudden be there with the front line. So it's really, really key, and that's why Cassie is finding the strength that she has right now.
And I think another portion of the story was when you look at the ultimate usage and you hear a Seismic Crash go off with no value, and then
Twice.
a Dread Serpent go off with no value, and you think, okay, but then on the opposite end, when Immortal is actually doing its work to extend the fight into a conversion with a capturing or whatever it may be, then that's automatically going to be incremental in the favor of the winning team.
100%. And yeah, there were a couple of Seismic Crashes that just did not quite hit home. And again, as Pretty Hair mentioned so well, all of these frontliners that are going up against heavy CC opponents usually have cards that shrugged it off. They don't need to go into resilience anymore. So crowd control is one of those things that as you're trying to move up your own personal ranks and you're playing frontline, or if you're playing a Maldaba, you need to be aware of those loadouts so that way you are finding the proper targets.
For anyone that's been tracking the PPL this time, it's no surprise that this set could go the distance with one game in the favor of each. And it's a matter of who's playing to their strengths most within each game. And I liked the fact that you had a little bit of those unique elements for VP on Splitstone that obviously worked in their favor. But now you're going off to Jaguar Falls with some similar bans on the table, but also a couple flanks.
Yeah, Con Maeve has been banned every single game so far. We tend to likely going to be seeing that throughout just about everything, at least this week, as she has been so well comboed with a number of different characters. It's not just Con's buff, but it's also Genos' buff. And again, I don't think we're at a point where someone's going to take a look and say, we're just going to ban Genos. At least not yet. Maybe sometime in the near future if a certain new champion hits the realm a little bit harder. But it will be Genos making its way over to Mousesports side this time.
Yeah, some have chosen to do that in the past, particularly if one player was just showing out. But in a lot of cases, there are other valuable things for you to ban away. And Buck slowly making his way back into the try, especially as other flanks are finding themselves on the ban block so often.
And that's the big key, is what's banned out. I mean, if you're going to keep getting rid of Maeve and Xin, this map in particular, not so great for an Eevee. Can do very well for a Buck. I still wouldn't say this is a great Buck map, but he definitely gets in the conversation, especially if you're looking for that last bit of kill potential, and especially if you have a Genos on your team. If the Genos isn't on Mousesports' side, I don't see them taking a Buck, but since they do have that ability to throw that Luminary on him, he instantly becomes that much more viable as a damage dealer.
And Leona is going to be the last one locked in here for Virtus.Pro. So of these two compositions, which one are you favoring?
I like VP's. It's tough because both of these comps are great for different reasons. VP's going to have a better side of poke because of that Drogo, Shaolin, Leon, but Mouse has the ability to really take down targets quickly. The impulse from Cassie, Buck's chase potential, and Bomb King's ability to zone. I think this game is won or lost in the front line between Inara and Terminus.
The bows are at it again. You've got Inara and Terminus facing off once again. So let's see who pulls ahead within the set.
Game number 3 here. This is usually a pretty close competitive set. It's proven to shape up to be quite so. This time around, though, I do, again, got to ditto what Alan says there. The frontline battle is going to be very important. Yeah. It's almost like that they flip-flopped, though. I mean, you had Damba Nara. You saw how important that combination was on Splitstone, but it came down to who was getting the kills, who was getting the frags, and Mousesports just were unable to frag out last game.
And just looking at the way they've been able to draft this, I feel like Virtus.Pro, they went very Jaguar Falls with this. Yeah. It's one of those things that both of these drafts are really good in different areas, but I feel like Virtus.Pro, because of the map, it kind of lends itself. I mean, you're locked in an area where Terminus can get right in your face. You have Drogo's on one of his better maps. Bomb King is going to be doing a lot of work as well, but I feel like it's just not as big a presence as I think we're going to be seeing out of VP, unless we just happen to see Mouse find that stride that was missing in Game 2.
I mean, this is definitely a great Bomb King map, but the thing for me is Swift Spirits with Elven Path's Terminus is a combination that could be really, really difficult to deal with, swinging through whole lot of effective damage, and even if it doesn't result in kills, even if it doesn't result in a great KD, the more you can get Reanimate up, I think the better for Elven Path, for Virtus.Pro. It's such a useful ultimate. Like, it's probably one of the best in the game, just because of bringing a frontline back to life allows you so much flexibility, especially when you are only running one of them, that vital life of your solo frontliner.
Being able to run most Terminuses, especially in this matchup, they're going to have that Forsaken card level 5. Just 70% slow reduction against a Nara allows you that little bit of extra chase down. When you have Bulldozer as well, it just makes it easy to kind of keep her on lock. And again, Virtus.Pro are doing their thing immediately on the point. 27%, so it's not a lot, but you can already see the fight going on right there.
Nice rockets connecting right now for unlimited power. He's tracking Bees down, hits a nice fire spit. The target swapping is just incredible at the moment from unlimited power here. He's going from the back line to the front line, over to the support, back to the back line, keeping a lid on everyone, but Gore at the same time not quite killing anyone.
Mary Jane in this position to maybe pick up some of those kills, but again, a little bit too much aggression is all it takes to fall down. You have a couple members on VP get a little bit too far, just take one step right to where Mouse want them, and they kill them off because of it.
Everyone's so low HP on Mousesports, but no one really dying. Cybe8 at 77% on his ultimate already. Drogo's the only one even close. He'll get pocketed. Hopefully back up to full HP. Nice disengage. Frankly, he's going to slow Elven Path down a decent amount. Rockets connecting it, and this is Wormjets. This is not Fusillade.
That was one of the things, just glancing at it, unlimited power, trying to bring a different style once again back to this Drogo's, but doesn't seem to be working. There's a reason Fusillade has been so good. And honestly, a lot of these rockets, if you put that Fusillade damage on there, that's a dead Inara. That's a bunch of those kills that were really low. They're gone now.
To be fair, I see where he's coming from, because when you look at the way Cybe8 and Koa are playing at the moment, right? The flanks that they are taking around are so long and so premeditated. The fact that he knows pressure is coming, and the ability to escape it comes with the Wormjet's talent. So I think he's thinking, I can't do any damage if I'm dead, so as long as I can fly around, stay alive, over time I'll end up doing more effective damage, I think, in these fights.
So far, though, Mouse back in the driver's seat. They have the steering wheel in hand, and a couple of ults coming in with that. They've already had to use one scout, 50% charged on the second one, but they have Seismic Crash, they have Through Time and Space, they have King Bomb, they have a lot of control and a lot that can put them up 2-0 if they really want it.
I wouldn't spam scout if I were Cybe this game. I mean, I think you literally just hold it. Hold it until you hear Heat Haze, and then you pop it. I think being able to counter a very high playmaking potential ultimate like Heat Haze has got to be a more effective use.
And you just get that better boxing fight, being able to recognize the movement Madara's going for, and that lets you control everything a little bit better. So charging it up, it's relatively fast, so it's not going to make a big difference. Overall, right now, Mouse are just trying to figure out how to break this archway. This is probably the toughest spot, I want to say, when a team gets a good hold, they get one set of kills to break back into without using an ult.
46 on the clock to try and do so. Seismic Crash only at 25%. Virtus.Pro working with everything defensively to be able to hold this with. Will they pop any ultimates? Will they go down 2-0? They seem to have fully changed their mantra of we don't want to, give up free points if we can help it. Rockets starting to land for UP. Fire Spit won't quite reveal Cybe8's location. I don't think he realizes how close he is to danger. Now he does. Doodle is taken down. 17 seconds, and this round could end fairly quietly.
Especially with the Bomb King going down. Bees has enough of a health bar and enough, well, maybe not even enough healing to get aggressive. Koa gets a little too aggressive, I would say, and the team is looking for kills. They're looking for pressure. They're looking to get back onto this, at least to get some overtime. Now with Andrew Doodle back, they might be able to find it, except Madara gets the kill immediately.
Interesting use of the heat haze there. VP don't want to let this one slip away. 2 for 1. Finding some kills from the distance, but Elven Path stands between them and the objective. Unlimited Power claims Cybe 8's life as the slow-mo comes to a close. Into round 2 we go. Cybe 8 already at the Nimble 2 with a little bit of Haven online and top damage, which is not easy to do with Drogoz in the game.
This was one of those moments, and Mouse, I think, is a perfect example of it. We'll use some of those terms like patient play when a team is holding back. That genuinely felt like Mouse didn't know how to get into that payload again. They just didn't know where they wanted to put that pressure. And I feel like a lot of this come from, I want to say, just some change-ups in the styles. Unlimited Power running the Worm Jets and stuff, Fusillade. You kind of have to play against him differently because of it. You have to rethink how to take down the Dragon.
He's got a lot of different cards in there just to keep himself mobile. Booster Fuel flying around. He's got Propel for forward momentum. All good stuff. Salvo comes out, but it's going to miss. The same actions, hoping for different results this time. Unfortunate Dread Serpent there. It just accomplishes peel onto Cybe. He eats the full duration, but is not killed for it.
Couple of good bombs right there. Now a King Bomb going towards Elven Path. That should be able to find at least something in terms of a kill. Of course, we can see he's still standing, but he's actually dead.
That was weak.
As Cybe finds that, and there's going to be no reanimate. And that's just going to be systematic eliminations on the side of Mouse.
And that's 10 more seconds before Unlimited Power is back in the fray here, which is equivalent to a 30% capture on the objective for Mousesports. They're climbing, climbing, climbing. Elven Path still reanimate. Unlimited Power still with Dragon Punch, and Mary Jane still with Enlightenment, so VP have a lot to work with.
Good seismic crash comes through. Elven Path has been stunned essentially the last 3 or 4 seconds. Straight damage going to be thrown into him, but unfortunately it's not going to result in the kill. Bees goes down, Cybe 8 goes down, Mouse give up their pressure 90%, so they still have a presence, but it's not enough to push it. And that's actually going to be the reanimate.
Yeah, it is going to force it out. Elven Path back in the fray, 90% for Mousesports, but VP steadily climbing, working their way back, and now have their support on the objective. Elven Path actually shatter falls into a time and space. Doesn't take a ton of damage for it, but will end up losing his life to other sources. 90% to 90%. Bees on the objective. Mousesports have a frontliner. VP do not.
Going around the side, one good arrow miss? Right here might be able to connect it. Koa going down. Madara getting a little bit of help from his team to make sure that elimination goes through. Planted not going to be used. Cybe doing his best to keep this 99 to 99 overtime. Sapphire Cloud gets a kill. Elven Path left alone, but there's still a dragon lurking around in the skies.
Trying to take down Cybe 8. He will do so overtime, and Elven Path turns it around right on Mousesports' head. He comes straight back to the objective, dumpsters Cassie, and my goodness, just like that, VP are on the offense.
You have, what, 2, maybe 3 carries, your damage standing there, and then it's just Elven Path laughing with his health bar sitting over 4,000. What are you going to do?
Big mistake to me. I don't think you got to let that one go.
Oh,
like
no,
that.
You fight.
You definitely are still in control of that if you're Mousesports. I want to look at his loadout, though, to see if he's running Shatterfall damage reduction, because when he jumped into that time and space, he, like, it basically tickled him. MTBs finds 2 for his troubles. Almost picks up Mary Jane as well. Mousesports fighting maybe a little bit frustrated after losing that last objective.
Necromantic Might, a lot of things I think we normally see. Actually not going for anything in Forsaken. Not going to have that reduced crowd control, that reduced slowing, and instead putting a lot into Calamity Blast.
Yeah, into both generating them easier, as you can see, and he is going to heal for a significant amount when he lands them as well.
Charging
about
it up.
1,000 damage on mid-game, which is easy, right?
Yeah.
You charge them up with your Power Siphon,
it's no
Cauterize
issue.
has fallen off, and then you just dump them out immediately, and you're healing for, frankly, a lot of HP.
And that idea, I mean, it kind of gives your healer a little bit more wiggle room to not focus on you, but at the same time, it's just allowing Elven Path to do what he did on the point. Jump in, fight whenever he wants, whether or not he has someone behind him. He can just do Terminus things without having to be enabled to do those.
Pretty cool when it works, for sure, but you got to definitely worry about that anti-heal. Madara, juicy combo, if you can even call it that. He just hits the arrow into the planet, everything connects. Sapphire Cloud goes down, 39 on the clock. Virtus.Pro, 85%. to their destination or so. Ultimates for Mousesports to defend with if they feel the need to.
Elven Path relatively low, doesn't have the reanimate just yet, so he has to be careful where he dies, when he dies. 99%. All he needs is just one more tick to get that 100. So now I expect Virtus.Pro to start getting a little bit more aggressive. They have a lot more to work with, 5 ults in their toolbox, and a lot of damage, especially with Koa off the board.
There's the Fire Spit landing, 1 for 1 so far in this exchange. Last couple of seconds there, that rocket's not going to be good. Unlimited Power rotates to the other side of the map while Mary Jean cleans up what he started. NTB still very healthy on the objective, but that could change in the blink of an eye. It won't. Mousesports clean it up, 4 kills unanswered, and the round will come to a close.
Holding on to it for 2-2. The items finally coming through, and honestly, it's Elven Path. I think to thank for everything, and he gets the kill immediately. I think that's the big thing. Unlimited Power was still present when that fight started. He ends up going down because it just splits the attention. Where are you looking? Are you looking at Terminus on the point, or are you looking at the Dragon on the side? If you're not looking at one of them, you either lose the objective or you die and then still lose the objective.
That's just Terminus' situation there. I mean, everyone forced to stand on the objective, right? He Shatter falls in, obliterates his former teammate in Cephacloud, and then is able to get a poor Cybate who is forced to try and stall that one out as long as he can. But my thing is, yes, Doodle, you're low. But at the same time, he's not looking at you that entire time. You could be laying bombs into the back of his head.
Yeah.
You could one-clip this tournament. And frankly, in the heat of that moment, he might not even notice that you're stacking stickies on him.
Now getting more aggressive. Bees is just so low. You're going to have Andrew Doodle kind of move up, I think, to alleviate the pressure. But again, Dragon in the air, looks to get forward. Enlightenment coming through, not really connecting on much. Mouse just don't have...
Just so awkward.
I want to say the presence that they're looking for.
So many ultimates have been popped, but no one has gotten anything for them. Enlightenment, Dread Serpent, Heat Haze, King Bomb, and the first kills are just starting to come through. King Bomb rolls right under the Drogos here. Things are just not connecting for either team. They're starting to fall the way of Mousesports there. Elven Path goes down, has his reanimate, no comeback mechanic. So he's just going to hold it for the time being, eat the full respawn duration, come back, and fight hard next time.
33% going to be matching the 39 on the side of Virtus.Pro here and then moving past it. But the problem I have is right there. Bees steps forward, he gets a little bit of a peak. He was full health, and then he's half health. He just does not have the presence I think that he really wants as a Nara. He gets the healing, he does come back, but it's still just not enough to really keep him rolling. And I want to say enough for him to be alone.
There's the reanimate. Elven Path's going to pick up his former teammate, Cephacloud, again with the big bomb, 4,000 to the Ascended, and NTBs follows suit, quickly falling there after Virtus.Pro. As a result of Elven Path's tremendous Terminus play, have again turned this objective around.
Coming through, they grab the point, they're happy. The question is whether or not they can ride this momentum a little further. A big ult being used in Reanimate. This is perfect charge time in the next 2 minutes, 30 seconds. That's perfect to get that back to 100%. But you also just want to win. This is the point where you just want to push it on in. You don't have as much in your toolbox to be able to do it, though. And I feel like that Heat Haze, the way it was used and the amount that it got, really kind of slows it down.
You got nothing. I mean, your sight fails, you go Ziggs. Okay. I'm just going to spray this wall and hop back to my support. Can't accomplish anything with a Heat Haze after it's been scouted out. Everyone on the enemy team can see exactly where you are. All you get at that point is movement speed and draw speed, which is, you know, it's nice.
It's not bad.
It's definitely nice to have. Imagine seeing that in the patch notes, right? You know, Shaolin now moves 30% faster and draws 50% faster as well.
I can already hear the complaints, like yelling,
right?
Even though it's only text, I can actually hear it in the studio.
So it's still impactful. You would be upset if you... That's how I like to think of things, you know? Yeah, you're not invisible, but these stat boosts for the duration of your ultimate are still extremely helpful to you as Shaolin. 125 to get this one through. Virtus.Pro with more ultimates to work with than Mousesports by a large margin. And King Bomb heavily reliant on CC. There's plenty of CC reduction on this VP lineup. But unfortunately, no death reduction, because now they're all dead.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
They move forward, then they're dead. There's not
Thanks,
much.
Score. Back to you at the desk.
There's not much that they could have done there. And again, it's in that area. They use so many resources to get the point. They use so much to kind of get things going for them. They didn't really have the momentum to ride up on. And even now, trying to get aggressive. Heat Haze finally almost charged back. That's usually the thing that reopens the door for you. But again, Scout just comes through. If you make those plays, it's good, but Cassie knows where you're going to be peeking from. She can just shoot you when you do.
Gore again, it's these little moments here for Virtus.Pro. They get that pick Onto Koa as he sort of pushes out to zone. Saibei picks up a double to stabilize the fight. And that could be the last one of the round quite easily here, as 2 more are picked up. Mad Mac and Mary Jane are unable to fully disengage. UP is in a bad spot now. As Koa comes around on him, I don't see him making it out of this one. That's probably going to be the end of the round, more or less. Elvin Pass might get in there to get a tag, to get an overtime start. He's going to Shatterfall up. But even the great Elvin Pass might not make it there. He gets Void Gripped up in the air, unable to touch, unable to get it started. And the 3-3 we go.
That felt like a sloppy return in from VP there. It was one of those things like I actually assumed it was about to be overtime because of how rushed they made that play. Where it was just one of those, they didn't feel grouped up enough. They didn't feel like they had everything going for them. Yeah. And they used the other Heat Haze. They used that again. So Madara, granted, I don't know if it would have mattered much because, again, Scout comes out, maybe you get boxed out, the fight doesn't go your way. But it's just, you use something with the idea that, okay, we can group up and get this, but there was no group. It was just you trying to push forward.
18-6 for Saibei. What a performance from him on Cassie. Cassie is a very highly contested pick in this set because you probably got 2-3 people on mouse. I would say any DPS player could probably play Cassie on Mousesports and on VP.
A lot of damage that can come down. Elvin Path eating a lot of damage. This is the strength of Buck. When you're able to get in that moment and you get the stun, NTBs is going to get credit for the kill. Reanimate's there. And again, it's just kind of the taunting. You aren't going to reanimate right there. That's a bad spot to reanimate in. And Koa's just standing on your dead body.
Big connection there from Andrew Doodle as well. Limited Power trying to fall back as best he can. 54% on the objective and climbing and climbing and climbing. Virtus.Pro, they've got resources. They've got a Dragon Punch. They've got to reanimate. Those 2 ultimates, if they get value, VP are absolutely not out of this. Here comes the King Bomb here. Doodle, round the corner, stuns out Elvin Path, preventing him from getting any closer. Shatterfall cooldown is consumed. The Dragon Punch connects, but Doodle connects and connects. A double kill. He's looking for the triple kill. One over the Power Siphon would find it. Cephacloud does the deed. Elvin Path's coming back, but it could be futile as he is immediately slain out.
The wall comes up just a second too late to stop Mad Mac, although they didn't really need to stop him. They just kill him immediately afterward. And I was just throwing bodies at the point to try and keep some sort of overtime, keep the dream alive. But Mouse, not necessarily firm grip on the steering wheel, but they at least have the control.
Just a great start to that last point fight. Something that they weren't able to get full value for a Buck Wild like that. That is not something you're gambling on, carrying you through that final team fight. Mouse, they're going to take game number 3, move ahead 2-1 in this best of 5, and 1 win away from claiming this victory. Let's head it back to the desk to get this next game started.
It's looking like a similar story to the past times we've seen this matchup, where it evened out, Mouse starts to pull ahead.
Yep. For me, and I'm going to be savage for a second, this was just simply a battle of who's better at what. It came down for me, Elvin Path was outplaying NTBs on the point. However, Saibei was outplaying Madara. Mad Mac died more times than Cephacloud in the support category. It just simply came down to raw talent at the end of the day. These comps were so balanced between the 2 of them. It really wasn't, I mean, that's what happens. You see these 4-3s that go for a very long period of time. Good pushes, good point control. Again, Elvin Path doing really well on the point for VP, but the damage that was coming out of Doodle and Saibei was just too much to deal with. I think Mousesports just outdamaged flat out.
That is a very interesting perspective to take. The fact that there were a lot of reflective elements in both compositions, and Saibei being able to execute so well on this Cassie when you're comparing bow versus bow, then that does have a heavy impact.
Yeah, Unlimited Power got shot down out of the air, I think, more times than he would have liked to by Saibei as well, which that always helps if you're a Cassie player and you can hit that combo on a midair. But even still, I mean, Mary Jane, again, had good pressure. It just flat out for me, it just came down to Mousesports. With Saibei specifically, I mean, the 115.8k damage is absolutely insane. It just flat out came down to they just got outskilled in the backline. It was one of those things that Elvin Path did everything he could, and he won that frontline battle against Anara more times than not. But I want to say like the end kill total when it came down to the supports was heavily in favor of Cephacloud. He only died, I think, 3 times in total, whereas Mad Mac had died 7 or 8, some maybe even 9, but somewhere a little bit up there. And when that support's not on the table, how are you going to keep your frontliner alive?
The support being consistent, and then it does seem to work out really well when they have Andrew Doodle on the blaster.
Yeah.
and then they have Saibei on picks like the Cassie. And that combination, when they can just go hard in the backline because support is just, well, supporting them enough, it was enough to turn the tide.
Yep, and again, that's something that if you're a Genos player and you're able to out-heal Damba, I mean, come on. That shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening.
But we're going to go to another map. It's game number 4. So Virtus.Pro do have the opportunity to tie up this set on Frog Isle.
Ooh.
Do you think they're going to be going with a similar composition, or how are they going to change things up?
The thing for me with VP is that their point control has been superior than Mousesports just about all day, for the most part, with the exception of Serpent Beach, where things were just, they didn't have the control on the high ground that I think they needed to with the Eevee picks that were coming out. This map, Eevee is a lot safer when it comes to being able to blink into that back line over the wall and then come right back, making sure there's no line of sight when you do wormhole. So I would be interested to see if the Eevee does come out in this game and it having more of a game-turning impact, I think.
I think at this point as well, no one is doubting Elven Path's ability to focus on the objective and
Very
hold
much
that
so.
down. And that's why you see those moments where even if they lose the game, they have so many percentage points on the objective, or they manage to hold well on the defense or something like that.
Yeah.
And if it does come down to backline and you're still developing that part of your team, then it makes it a bit more clear.
It's like a sixth man element. When your capture percentage is always superior than your opponent's, it's another element that they have to worry about. It's not just getting the kills. We can't just go chase kills. We have to deal with Elven Point on the objective. So we'll see what happens here. It is, wow, very damage heavy for VP. Cassie Strix Buck right off the bat. Kinessa's going to be used to counter. I would have to say, you know, generally, this new sniper battle with the new scopes, I would give it to Strix just about almost every time, just because of the ability to quick scope for full value.
And Virtus.Pro have a couple of players that can actually hop on to the Strix, so that gives them some flexibility depending on what other picks they actually want to lock into. And it's going to be Maldamba and Barrick as their frontline support combination.
I like it. Again, Barrick is just one of those, especially if there were to be an Eevee to come out, those turret placements can really, again, provide a little bit more distraction. Mousesports doing something a little bit interesting here. They're using the solo front line with Nara, which generally you would say should do well against Barrick, but they're actually able to help fuel that with the Genos Grover. So a lot of long-range poke, really from both teams. The big key for me, can this Buck really get going in the back line?
Single front line on both sides, but a very different approach to it as far as what is surrounding that portion of the composition. So let's go ahead and find out. Do Mousesports close it, or does VP once again push it to Game 5?
I just love where the meta's kind of headed, right? I think 3 DPS is more fun to watch than anything we've had before, right? It's so decided by just players fighting each other, right? Not who can like heal and stay alive longer or anything corny like that.
Especially like the variety of DPS that you get to see. Like there was a point where it's like, you know, you're going into the game, it's like, man, there's going to be 6 front lines and we know every single one of them because the other one's been banned. And then they added another front line. It's like, okay, now the other 2 have been banned, and you're going to see these 6 anyway. So coming into this, and now seeing a Strix and a Kinessa on maps again that have been kind of, I want to say, filtered through instead of everywhere. They're just on key locations, and I think this is a map that's good for both of them.
And even if you look at just the way that the PPL drafts have changed given the start of the spring split to now, and normally, you know, you could counter that argument by saying, oh, well, patch notes, this, that, and the other, but like, Xin hasn't seen any changes, right, from now until then, or from then until now, and most of these other champions haven't either, really. The meta, the balance has been relatively light through these first 6 months of 2018 for Paladins, and still we've seen a lot of champions just get churned in and out of priority.
If anything, Genos was nerfed because he lost the 15% bonus damage to himself.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that it's like that Luminary and the ability, what it enables you to do is still so impactful and so important that it can change a lot. And of course, his passive healing, being able to keep things like Inara alive. It's a little bit more difficult, I want to say, when you have just him, especially when you lose Koa.
Those headshots from Buck, man, did they just change the game. 1,000 damage plus, as opposed to just those little 700 dinks onto the Grover. It's incredible what it can do to impact the fight. And I think that's what makes or breaks a lot of Buck players, a lot of Buck moments. Is can you just hit that big headshot? Characters like Barrick, Grover, Pip, a little bit easier to get that tag onto. Mary Jane hits one, sends Koa straight back to whence he came, and 75% and climbing for VP as a result of just 1 kill.
And this is honestly the kind of moment where not only does Buck play a big impact on this in terms of being able to kind of keep Cassie down, keep Shaolin down, but Mary Jane on a sniper is one of the things that I really enjoy watching, because when it goes right, it just goes perfectly for them. A couple of missed shots, but again, he's keeping people locked down, because if you poke out, that's what you get.
2 for 2 so far. Mouse trying to work their way back in, but running out of cooldowns, running out of time, running out of health. Doodle, all of the above. Headshot. Mary Jane hits 2 back-to-back to put the nail in the coffin and send Virtus.Pro on the offense in round 1.
And there's the point. Saibei just jumped there. I don't know if the flare was actually close enough. It might have just been a distance thing.
Yeah.
But if that had connected, and it would have just
online.
been the biggest style points that you ever could have gotten, where it's just like headshot, you take a little bit of a relax, and then just throw the flare out casually and make sure that the kill comes through. But all they needed was the space.
That definitely would have been sick. It was online to do it. Another headshot landing. A lot of dinking going on here between Unlimited Power and Mary Jane. Shots are connecting from the back line, from the front line, all over the lines, to be quite honest with you. 150 on the clock. The flare goes out. UP jumps in and makes quick work of Angedoodle. Flips the shotgun, hits the Buck Wild, but is void gripped and stunned and just completely thrashed. So much is invested into him, Gore, and it still takes so long for him to die that Madara has no trouble punishing all of that investment and picks up his own triple kill.
And I love that call. You're Buck. You get void gripped, and you're like, all right, I just popped Buck Wild. I have 2 options right here. I can either lay on the trigger and hope for the best, or I can just use my recovery, use that damage reduction, and make them dump everything into me. They just force so much. And Madara's just like, oh, okay, come on forward. I'll get a triple kill. Don't worry about it.
Put his hands together and prayed for survival. Now he's back in the objective fight. Hits another shot on the Doodle. Unlimited Power on the Buck has been commanding the back line. And Alan on the desk said that was going to be a big win condition for Virtus.Pro. I would say Unlimited Power has been a little bit more than successful in his endeavors so far in the first round.
I would say that this map, much like what we had said earlier with Eevee, where it's like you kind of ride or die with your Eevee. You either win and find success, or you get brought down because they just aren't able to do it. I would say this one is the same, but with Buck. If Buck can just get to the point where his presence alone is frightening to the other team, then you're going to be comfortable. And just having that rapid sustain, having increased healing, having the damage reduction, having your recovery up more often from deep breath and reconstruction, it just, you don't die in those scenarios.
Buck is a big boy. Big thick
boy.
boy. He's working his way to the back line again. Shotgun slung in hand. No skin necessary for horse or for champion.
Getting killed by a no-skin.
Unlimited Power likes to be the no-skin. That frags you out. I get it, man. It makes sense. He hits a 2-for-1 shot onto the high ground, forces Doodle back, sets up Mary Jane for the first kill. Mary Jane finds the second, Unlimited Power the third, and Mary Jane quickly thereafter with the fourth.
Then a 5th just to tag it on to get the full wipe, make sure no one from Mousesports is going to be able to even contest just a little bit. As you can see, the streaks are burning. 14 now for this Strix, and these shots are really what finds it. It's just the tail end, like the flick shot, or just being able to hold the angle, find the peak you need. 1,200 is a lot. 1,800 is a little better, but of course you can't mar him for not finding headshots every time.
This guy's a hell of a shot. I'll tell you what, he is. I haven't seen him miss a shot on an exposed target. You know, he's going for some cheeky ones onto some shins and some toes and some heels and some shoulders. But when they are fully exposed, when they are on his screen, he literally has not missed a shot. And I'm trying to caster curse him out of missing a shot, but it's just not happening. I'm losing my powers. I don't know what to do.
Will not give you that. Even there. All right, I'll trade with him.
What? What is this guy? And I mean, just the guy we found in ranked. The Elven Pass says, if you play ranked in EU, you know who Mary Jane is.
I think the only time I've seen him be successful, like there were times where Mary Jane was in like the PGS, he'd show up, he'd play, and his team would do well. But it was in that void that was created when all of these players just got taken away. When it's like, okay, your team was really good. Chroma Space is now the one there. Armada now, as they've been picked up, but it's just like the top teams get scooped away, and then there's a power vacuum. And that's when you see these guys kind of come through and shine out. And I feel like that's where Mary Jane is like he's a really good player that has always kind of been brought down by everyone else just being more prevalent, I want to say, as a team.
Koa finds a big axe around the corner, and TB is going to tag team in for the kill. Mousesports holding pretty aggressively here for Frog Isle, and they're trying to just not give up this 4-0 sweep on Frog Isle. This could be a Game 5 very easily. I mean, to be honest, I feel like the last 3 or 4 times we've seen Mousesports and Virtus.Pro play, it has been a best of 5.
Not only has it been a best of 5, but I always feel like Game 4 is always that one that goes by really fast, too. And it's always Virtus.Pro. It's always 2-1 after Game 3. Virtus.Pro takes it to, like, Stone Keep, or I guess in this case, Frog Isle. They have some ridiculous stomping performance, and then they go to Game 5 and lose it.
And to be honest, it's not even really some, glaring mistakes from Mousesports that I feel is losing them this game. I really think it's just Virtus.Pro is playing extremely well right now. People are just hitting their shots in Gore. It's an FPS at the end of the day. That is arguably the biggest part of it, is hitting the damn shot.
And being able to, use the cooldowns, I want to say responsibly, comes into an equation when it does relate to that. But right now, I mean, Mary Jane is the leading force in this. He doesn't have anything special going on for him. It's just the scope, the rifle, and where does that bullet go? There's going to be Kinessa, and she just eats it to the face.
He hasn't missed anything. I mean, is he using the flare? Like, you can see some of his flares going out when we're watching his camera, but it's like he knows when Cybait's going to peek before he peeks. Cephicloud catches him looking, hits him with the biggest, baddest snipe in the realm. The time and space confirms the kill onto the sniper. The Void Grip, Cephicloud trying to bring this one back against his former team, and he has done just that.
I like the call, and I like the Mouse is able to hold it. Again, just showcasing that it is not them making mistakes as much as it is Virtus.Pro getting aggressive and hitting some ridiculous shots. I mean, a double kill in the same spot. Just jump snipe, and then there's an Inara right there. He would have made that, I want to say 4, had it not been for the fact that you also have unlimited power on the side and Madara on the side just pelting people with bullets.
And I mean, goodness gracious, 4 members of Virtus.Pro. Everyone who's doing relevant damage, everyone that's not the support is above everyone on Mousesports, and by a decent margin, right? This buck is 2K above the Kinessa. I mean, my goodness gracious, what a game for Mary Jane. Elven Path keeping up, obviously putting some good shots in on the front line.
Eerie presence for Mad Mac, a man after my own heart. Something that you definitely need when you play Madara, in my opinion.
Hey.
At least if you know you're not going to hit those as well.
Swallow your pride and rock it. That's what I say.
Mine's level 5, though. I need the instant reset.
You just hold down right click until it gets.
Until someone gets hit. And eventually you get the healing done that you need. You keep everyone alive. And at this rate, he doesn't really need to be able to hit that shot because his team's doing it themselves.
Big shots landing from Elven Path. Reposition comes out from Kinessa just to keep her safe. But Elven Path is going to keep up the assault here. Rocket Boots proc the bowling ball. NTBs is coming back to the objective. 90% and climbing. Here's the seismic crash. The dome shield goes down in response. What can Mousesports do? Nothing, Gore. They can do nothing. They all die one by one. Unlimited power and Mary Jane combine yet again to slaughter everyone in red.
That's like the idea of we're going to smoke out this room so they have to come out. We're going to send Buck over here, and if they don't want to fight him, they have to deal with the fact that now they're getting hit by sniper shots. There's no safe space for Mouse in that fight, in that map. And it's just, again, looking at Virtus.Pro playing the map perfectly. They knew what they needed, they drafted it well, and they played it perfectly.
And that's why I don't really know what you would even tell Mousesports to do better there. That was and that's what kind of like those long-range sniper compy sort of games end up being. Very pure, very hit your shot or don't. Mary Jane was hitting shots, hitting a lot of headshots consistently too. I don't really know what you do with that one. Gabby, Alan, what do you guys think?
Well, what I think is in the PPL, there's 2 things you can rely on. Na'Vi and Fnatic going to Game 5, and Mousesports and Virtus.Pro pretty much always going to Game 5.
So it seems. So it seems. No, this was, I think, a couple of things went wrong for Mouse. Number 1, Strix versus Kinessa seems to just always be going the way of Strix. The fact of the matter is he has a free peek when he goes into his stealth. He can peek that window if he so chooses to. Or you pop the flare over the top of the wall, you get some jump peeks. We're not taking anything away from MJ because he just had an incredible performance. But the Kinessa, I think Cybait, I think in the kill feed I saw him kill Mary Jane once. A single time.
Yikes.
And the Grover on top of that, he needs to be spamming those angles left, right, and center, but then you have to worry about the fact that you have a Buck in your back line. So I think just the combination of MJ hidden shots and UP coming around the backside to make sure the back line was always pressured, there was just never a situation where Mousesports looked comfortable, with the exception of the one defense that they had. It even still, it came on the back end of a handful of ultimates being used just to set themselves back up. So props out to MJ and Unlimited Power for getting that setup going, but I think at the end of the day, it just came down to the fact that Mousesports says, we're going to out-sniper you, and it didn't even come close.
I've been loving Mary Jane's sniper play since in the PGS. Very consistent. I don't think I've ever seen them on the sniper and just been like, wow, that was a really bad game from them. But particularly here, it was in combination with the rest what they needed to be able to turn it in their favor.
Yep.
And also what you usually can't expect from Elven Path is being able to use those ultimates effectively. And the times, it's actually been weird. I think there was some match a bit ago, I think it might have been against Mousesports, where they were actually not managing ultimate economy well, when it was like, that's one of the things that you've been so consistent with for quite a while. So we were talking about objective focus with him, and that's another element we saw right there in the end.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that dome shield was absolutely massive. The seismic crash comes out, but again, you throw down a shield. Even if you get stunned with it, there's so much zone that you just created for your team to recuperate and come back in and make sure that fight was won, which, of course, it was. Now, Brightmarsh is a very interesting, again, another interesting area to go to, simply because, again, you have to take a look at how do you shrug Elven Path off these objectives.
And this is not really a place where there's a lot of opportunities to get them away from it if they've worked their way into the objective.
If he does get off, he doesn't go very far.
Yeah, it's here's just this wall that I'm putting my back against to get back in it. And he's really just been able to make it his namesake, really, and his ability to capture and all that objective control. So Mousesports, the fact is they have to keep that in mind while constructing their composition. Absolutely
so, and I think as you're seeing Virtus.Pro ban away frontliners, I think this is definitely a true tell that, yes, we're going to force Mousesports to play a solo frontline versus us, because it has been going our way more often than not as far as being able to win the objective. The big question mark for me for VP comes with the fact of, can they set up some backline damage that can really help sustain Elven Path's pressure? Because so far it's been very hit or miss.
That's true. And right now, prioritizing getting the Terminus, but then Buck and Shaolin as well, since you know that the Cassian Drogos are on the opposite side. And there's Maldamba, so you do have the Maldamba healing up the rock combo.
And again, I find that one of the biggest values of Maldamba when it comes to being paired with a Terminus,
Swifty.
Yes, is getting those Swift Spirits online, because again, Terminus doesn't have to go into things like Nimble, because he's getting that constant pressure from the Mending Spirits that allows him to get boosted forward. The big question mark, and this is one thing I was wondering, the Pip would be a good answered response, but his healing by himself is not so great. So we're actually not going to be seeing a Genos being put in, but another Grover. I didn't feel like the Grover set himself up as being all that impactful on Frog Isle. It has me a little worried about this for Brightmarsh.
Maybe the proximity here will work for his healing, being able to stick a bit more to some of the players that he needs to heal up. Who knows, but...
So your question mark inflection at the end is exactly what my reaction would be.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to think of the scenario and how this is going to pan out, but very interesting compositions from both sides. So let's see who takes it home in game number 5.
I kind of agree with that sentiment as well, right? Frog Isle can get a little bit awkward for Grover in terms of positioning. Brightmarsh is probably his best map for my money in terms of keeping his team alive. The space that you can sit on, just kind of on the staircase, right? And you can heal a front line, you can heal back line. Your radius is so big at that point. That being said, I still feel like Mouse have the higher execution threshold. It's a good composition. It's just harder to execute. Virtus.Pro's composition is also a good composition. It's just easier to pull off.
And this is one of the things that I think plays into the fact that the map layout is very important, not only for their compositions and the champions they have, but just in the grand scheme of this set, it's been these kind of more open point maps that Virtus.Pro have been able to kind of excel, and it's in these closed point areas that we've seen Mouse find their success, and being able to run a comp on a map like that is something that, again, it will benefit you on your Serpent Beach, on your Brightmarsh, on your Jaguar Falls, and I think bringing it here, as long as they can execute it the way they want to, Koa, I guess, feeling confident this time around that it will go differently than what we just saw.
Here's the talent selection here. Spirit's Chosen, Bulk Up, Desert Shadow, Royal Subjects, Decimation, Mega Potion, Impulse, Fusillade, Efflorescence, and Tinkerin for the gang and the squad. Cephalcloud straight in a morale boost as well for his Pip. Trying to get that boosted up as quickly as possible here. A lot's going to ride on him, right? He's got to hit some big heals here, but also contribute. And the damage charts, Big Evil Mojo's. A lot sits on his shoulders. So far, so good, though, as he's kept everyone fairly topped off.
Tippy top as everything needs to be. Koa being able to make up for any deficit there might be when the healing goes one way or the other. You can see him kind of hoping and focusing on that Cassie and unlimited power in this area. The Buck not finding anywhere near as much success, just not able to leave this tree as far as he's concerned.
Buck is such a pain in the ass. It's just
literally
making me annoyed, just making me so annoyed to watch. Like so low and then like nope, 40% damage reduction and I'm full HP by the way. 99% on the objective before Mousesports were able to do anything. This is, you know, it's coming in a different fashion nowadays, but it's still, I feel, true to the soul of Virtus.Pro.
It's everything that they need. The control comes through, and again, they mentioned it on the desk. We've kind of mentioned it offhandedly, not only in this cast, but I think through pretty much any time Virtus.Pro is in the game. That just acts as a sixth man. That forces you to fight on this point. You have to pay a lot more attention to this area that until now you've kind of been ignoring, and that's what allows Virtus.Pro to do this.
Wow.
That was a beautiful combo, beautiful rocket to get rid of that with the Evil Mojo.
I mean, that's all you can really ask for. No, these rockets are going to be so impactful. Nearly one-tapping. And that Evil Mojo, Chicken, and Jadoodle, so far so good. I can't complain about a single thing I've seen from him today.
Everything that Mouse just did was like, if you look at last game and say, what did they do wrong? And there was nothing. If you ask what did they do wrong, it was, or what did they do right just now? Everything. Every single thing they did, their positioning, their shots. And of course, a lot of it, like you said during the last game, is just where are you aiming? How good is that?
Right.
But just being able to find that synergy as a team. You have the Evil Mojo follow-up immediately. You recognize your positioning and how to work it.
What the hell did he play last game? Did he play Bomb King?
That's a good question. I'm going to say
completely
Bomb King,
blanking.
but I cannot remember. I only remember Virtus.Pro. They were on the right side of the kill feed.
Felt like I never said his name once last game. But anyway, they're going to be in control of this first offense here on Bright Marsh. A couple of ultimates starting to creep back up. I like what I've seen so far from this pit play, and I think Cloud has to continue to just be zero hesitation with these Evil Mojos, and especially later into the game, a lot of these characters have some inbuilt CCR, and we'll take a look at those once we get a chance to in between rounds here. Elvenpath, the first to fall. He's struggling this round, unable to get his ultimate off. Virtus.Pro unable to put up a defense. Mousesports just go straight through.
The other day, I cannot remember which side it was. If it was PPL, PGS, PCS, wherever it could have been. There is a point where we, Evan and I, were casting a game, and there was a Terminus, and he didn't get to charge his ult up at all that round. Didn't get it 100%.
Yeah, 88%.
Nothing feels worse, I think, than going through a full capture point where you got to 99%. Then the other team captures it. Then you go through the push timer, and you still haven't been able to get it. Going into this fight, you don't have the luxury of saying, I can reanimate if I die early. You have to play it safe, and at 0-3-1, Elvenpath is a big target for Mouse.
Elvenpath doesn't go into any CCR in his loadout. What about Bomb King? Can I see Bomb King real quick before we get into this action?
Reinforced casing. There it is.
He's got it. So right now, Elvenpath is a prime target. The best target imaginable for this Evil Mojo. Cloud gets a charge back up. Let's see, they have not one, but two ways to deal with pesky pains in the butt like Buck and Terminus. Evil Mojos, and I'm feeling one coming right now. And my gut has not steered me wrong just yet. That's one insta-gib. NTBs is daring Elvenpath to come back. He's got shields and everything he needs available. I wonder if he would have just put him in the dome shield.
Yeah, then you just walk out, you let it explode. Maybe it kills the turret. I don't know how much health that has.
I think it would. I don't think that flamethrower turret. I've never.
How mad would you be as Terminus? You come back and then immediately get just like chunked by the flamethrower.
I mean, I would seriously
assume it would
doubt
die.
it's not 4,000 HP. Hopefully not. The shield's 20,000 HP, so you never know. I mean, hell, it could have 20,000 HP. Cybe8 takes down UP. Dome shield on the objective where everyone's trying to stand from Virtus.Pro, but they're just out of resources, out of time. Cute little roll shot there from Cybe8. 2 for Bees, 2 for Cybe. And it's going to be another capture for Mousesports. They could put this set away. They could put Bright Marsh away in under 6 minutes.
And the streaks they're burning, I mean, Barrick, only 5. I guess we can still give it to him, though, because there's 10, 11, 12 for the rest of the team
Barrick.
coming through. He's doing his job right. He's sitting on the point. He's setting up turrets, and he's having an impact wherever he needs to be. His shots are going to be good using Tinkerin, and it's just what you need out of him is just that presence to kind of fill. The way Bees is playing it, where it's just, I'm just going to be a body on the map or on the board for the team.
Okay.
I'm not going to die. I'm going to be able to hold this and keep control for you.
Fire Spit connects. Good damage there. Comes through. Keeps everyone from Virtus.Pro in the corner. And, I mean, this snowball victory, frankly, it's something you expect from this type of composition. These Grover Pip compositions that rely on a lot of healing, crowd control, things that fall off late game. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to spank you early game before you can get those counters online.
And essentially a double execute to deal with Elven Path, if need be, although that Dragon Punch I don't think I've actually seen go for the Terminus. It's hit things like the Buck. It's got things off the table that you just didn't think you had to worry about. That time they're going to be able to find it. But again, another rocket, and he uses his ult for Madara.
And there's going to be 1 return kill, 2 return kills, looking for the 3rd return kill. Andrew Doodle, can he shut this all down? No, the kill feed is full of both red and blue. Blood spilled on both sides of the coin. Elven Path comes through triumphantly swinging his axe to put down the last of the Mousesports Aricans. And now they're starting to come back, but no ultimates in hand. They were really going for the throat there. Is this the turning point in momentum for this game?
I didn't see the Mousesports teammates that might have been nearby, but I feel like Cepha Cloud just threw the full-on healing potion at an enemy he was trying to kill. Immediately follows it up with a couple of shots. And it's just that area of like, I don't know if there was someone else there, if he was going to hit someone else. I didn't see it, but it just felt like one of those awkward moments of, I just need to throw everything in my kit at you to make sure you die.
Remind me to tell you a story about this after this game wraps up. I got a funny story about a healing potion like that. 23 seconds left on the clock here. VP, 3 ultimates, Heat Haze, Buck Wild, Dread Serpent, and nearly there on the King Bomb and the Reanimate. Those will be up if this fight goes much longer. Only 10 seconds on the clock to work with. King Bomb is pretty much there. Mousesports, I think you really just got to try. Start this overtime just to charge your ults here.
Yeah.
Anytime ults are in the conversation, Mousesports are crushing Virtus.Pro in these fights. So if they can get these charged back up, even if they fail this defense, I think they'll have a good shot in the next round.
Getting them relatively close, 98 rising up for Andrew Doodle. All he has to do is find a little bit more. Elven Path getting healed up enough that I don't think they're going to be able to find the kills or the push they want.
No.
Although a couple kills right there. Elven Path is low. Reanimate, he's going to have to pop it.
No, they don't. They're not.
He's going to go for the punch.
Are they actually going to get this? Dragon Punch connects. Salvo to the high ground. It's going to kill the support. Buck's jumping in. Buck's the last hope for Virtus.Pro. Not to get 4-0'd here. Bomb Kick comes up, ripping over the top. Dome Shield. Whirlwind. Mousesports breathe new life into that push at the last possible second and complete the victory over Virtus.Pro.
They heard your advice. They're like, all right, we're going to charge our ults, and then we're going to use them.
Oh my God.
We're going to just immediately pop that, get back into this fight, forcing the reanimate, like the way they did that. And that was all Andrew Doodle. Like just
Big
shot
deal.
here, get rid of the Terminus. He reanimates, get rid of the Terminus one more time.
Yeah, one more time. He hits a big shot into Shaolin, who was stealth. Salvo up onto the high ground. The support gets taken out there. Incredible stuff there. Mousesports finally able to put this set away.
Same old dance, it seems, as far as the numbers go. But I tell you, sometimes it just looks like from one game to the next, it's a different team.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. You know, you take a look at the drafts for both teams, there's really no reason that this should have been a 4-0 for VP, but there were moments where Elven Path dove in 3 separate times, got killed instantly 3 separate times, and to be honest, I mean, you can't take anything away from Doodle. I think if I were to put out a most improved player since in 2018, Doodle would be my pick. He has looked absolutely incredible on Drogos, that performance notwithstanding. He's been hitting so many shots that are direct. I mean, again, 1, 2, and then a chicken for the third. Just takes down Terminus instantly. And again, Pretty Hair and Gore, they said it perfectly. There was no crowd control reduction whatsoever in the build for the Terminus. So this play here by Doodle to go after the Buck first, take him out of the backline with no mobility, and then to use the Evil Mojo on the Terminus is just highest efficiency and value for ultimates. Doodle played lights out. Koa played lights out throughout this set. And when you have those moments, that's when these 4-0 sweeps happen. It just seems like for Virtus.Pro, you're banging your head up against the wall because you played such a great set. And then Game 5, your deciding moment, it's a blowout.
And Nick had talked about how with Buck. He can be a pain in the butt, really. And I think the way that Andrew Doodle was able to handle in certain situations and the team in general, so it doesn't get completely out of hand as we've seen in some other matches, was a good key for them.
Yeah, just instantly delete him. I mean, that was the biggest thing. The insta-give from the Evil Mojo and the Dragon Punch both were just so well utilized throughout all of that. Barrick, again, it's one of those things that as he was introduced back into the viability charts, it's like, I don't know how Barrick is going to fit in with all these big frontliners. His health pool is just not there. He's got to set up shop. But you use this Dome Shield, and all of a sudden, the turn is ready to go, and you can make a push happen or get a capture point going.
Well, set 1 went to Game 5 here today, and we do have another Virtus.Pro matchup, but it will be against Na'Vi. We're going to kick it to a break, and when we return, we'll hop right into that set.